Hi, everybody. Essence here, and today we are talking about how your brain stores trauma and how that past trauma is still affecting your brain and your day to day life experiences and reactions and triggers. Okay. All right. So, I am not a healthcare provider, I am the goddess of transmutation, breakthrough specialist, and also known as your spiritual life coach. Okay. So I am here to break things down and keep things very simple for you so you can really truly understand how trauma impacts you. Because you don't know what you don't know, but once you know, then you can do something about it. Okay. All right. So first example you may think is kind of silly, but I really wanted to keep it simple so it's not a real trigger for anyone. There will be a couple examples in here that might be triggering, so I just want you to be prepared. Okay, so the first one, again, pretty simple, just to explain how this all works. So let's say that we have this little girl, her name is Zena, and she's 4 years old, she's from the city, and she goes down south to visit her grandparents, and she is gardening, playing out in the dirt with her grandmother, and she's sitting there, and all of a sudden she feels something on her leg, and she looks down at the dirt and sees these caterpillars, different colors. And then she looks at her leg and there's a caterpillar on her leg. And then she immediately just starts screaming and crying. And she's like, it's biting me. And she's swatting, but it won't come off. And so she gets up and runs to her grandpa, who then takes the caterpillar off of her leg. Okay. So her primal brain saw the caterpillar and sensed danger, or like, yeah, being endangered or threatened. So it threw her into flight or fight mode, and she chose flight because she took off running. Okay, so your brain takes in information through the senses: eyes, sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch, right? So let's say for her, her brain, it saw that there were caterpillars on the ground, caterpillar on her leg. What did she smell? Let's say the neighbor was burning leaves. So there's that burning leaf smell. What did she hear? Maybe the neighbor dog was barking in response to her screaming. Okay, what did she feel? Maybe she felt her heart beating in her chest. She felt the caterpillar on her leg. She felt her feet hitting the ground as she was running towards grandpa. Um, yeah, okay, so so this is how your brain takes in everything that's happening around you, okay? So then it takes it all in and it sends it to this center called the amygdala. And the amygdala decides whether an event is going to be stored as a memory, normal experience, or whether it is going to be stored as a traumatic experience. So it's looking at whether in this experience you might have felt threatened, endangered, stuck, helpless, that kind of thing. Okay. Since a threat was sensed, because she's 4 years old, she didn't know what that was. Her brain is getting stored in the amygdala as a traumatic memory, and that caterpillars are a threat. Okay. So now let's say all her life she's grown up and she does not like caterpillars and creepy crawly things and spiders. She hates them. And let's say now she's 30 years old, and even if she's walking down the street and sees a caterpillar hanging, coming down and hanging, she's like, screams, or maybe she goes into freeze and can't move, right? Or she might even go into fight where she grabs a stick and is swinging, trying to get it down. Or if she sees one on the ground, steps on it. And it will feel totally reasonable to her to react this way because that amygdala is like, caterpillar, danger, danger, danger. And that alarm is going off. Even though logically she may know caterpillars aren't going to kill me or hurt me. Doesn't matter. That's the way it got stored. And now that alarm that's the way it's going to go off when she sees a caterpillar or some creepy crawly bug. And she probably doesn't like going out in nature too much. Okay. So that is how it all gets stored. Your past experience, traumatic experiences get stuck in the brain. The amygdala will then like send off alerts to try to protect you anytime it senses something, even like slightly similar to that. So for example, let's say, and this might be again like a trigger warning, let's say that we'll just use Xena again. Let's say that when Xena was 7, she was fondled by a trusted family friend. Okay. And he was wearing a red sweater. He smelled of bourbon. And this is something that, of course, got stored in her mind as a traumatic memory because when he was touching her, she went into freeze, like she didn't know what to do and she felt helpless and out of control. So it gets stored as a traumatic memory. Now, let's say 20 years later, she's on a train and then a guy comes and stands next to her that has on a red sweater. And all of a sudden her heart is going to start like beating very fast. That amygdala is saying, danger, danger, guy in red sweater. And so what she does after like the freeze kind of calms down, she just like immediately goes to the back of the bus to get away from him. Even though logically she knows it's not the same guy, that part of her brain is still sending that signal of danger. Or maybe anytime she smells bourbon on a guy, her anxiety gets revved up or she gets depressed and probably doesn't even know why, especially if she's out at a bar and there's many people around her drinking and that sense gets activated, like the smelling it activates that past memory, activates the amygdala, and then a response goes off. And it's like all of a sudden she is not the happy, cheerful self she was just a few minutes ago with her friends and probably doesn't even know why. Okay. So another example is for me, when I was in elementary school, I had like my little crew of friends and we used to play this game. We called it getting funny. So like we would choose somebody to get funny with, meaning like we stopped talking to that person for that day, completely ignore them. And then one day, of course, my turn came where my crew just ignored me and pretended like I didn't exist. And it was very traumatic for me. If I remember correctly, I think I even faked being sick like later in the afternoon so that my mom could come and pick me up. That's how bad it was for me. And several years later, it has still been the subject of many coaching sessions. Like in the beginning of my when I first hired my life coach in 2014, like I had to work on that a lot. But I'm sharing that with you to say that like that created like a sisterhood wound within me. And so last year I was making friends with this girl who's in this group program that I was in, and we became like business accountability buddies. And then 1 month she hit a really big goal and she didn't tell me. She shared it in the group instead of like reaching out to me when we were sharing things all the time, like via messenger. And then when I read it in the group, that just like triggered my sister wound. And my brain was like, let's cut her off. We're not talking to her anymore. She doesn't think that this relationship is valuable. She didn't tell you first. And so like I caught that alert that going off in my head. And I'm like, yes, I could just like cut her off and do, all that. But I understand how the brain works and how, I'm having a trauma response. So I, waited till I calmed down a little bit. And then I just messaged her and I like let her know that it was triggering for me and like why and how I see our friendship and how I would like our friendship to go and grow. And she completely just heard me out and understood and didn't judge me of like being ridiculous. right? So it's like these things that happen in the past and the way they get stored, they still show up and affect us in certain ways. Um, I also want to share that your brain will perceive certain things as a threat that aren't even threatening, and you may have a hard time understanding why. So, for a long time, I knew that I wanted to start being on social media more. I would do things in person for my business, like have classes and that kind of thing, but I wanted to do videos and show up on Facebook Live, but it would take me like 3 or 4 hours to get a video done, and then I would be so mean and so hard to my so hard on myself, and I never understood why. Like, why is this so daunting to get this done and stressful? And then it finally bubbled up to the surface in a healing session, is that it was triggering something from high school where my boyfriend, he told his cousin something personal about me that his cousin told other people, and then people began to tease and shame me, and I just wanted to hide. I didn't want to be seen. It was just like so horrible, so traumatic. And then now my brain was associating being on video and being in front of people as being, like being traumatic and like danger. People are going to see you, people are going to judge you and talk about you and shame you. So, like, me being in that freeze response when it was time to do a video was like my brain's way of protecting me, to like basically saying, don't let them see you. It's not safe out there. You got to hide and be behind the camera. Right. So my goal, my work over the last few years has just been to like heal that old high school wound and just keep working through my stuff to consistently show up online. Okay. Even though this is not threatening, my brain was that danger center was really going off trying to protect me, and it still comes up sometimes, and I'll just say to myself, like, it's safe, it's okay, you can make that video, just like comforting that high school essence that was traumatized. Okay, so I think I've given you plenty of examples of how past trauma gets stored and how it affects your brain and shows up day to day. And so I want you to know that there's nothing wrong with you if you are experiencing stress and triggers around things you think you shouldn't be. This is why it is generally your brain is connecting it to something from the past. And it may not be, tit for tat. Like, it would make sense that if I was going in a high school teaching a course, that then I would have that trauma response and brain like, no, high school isn't safe, right? But it doesn't work like that. That everything's not just like a parallel reflection. So when you're doing your exploring to try to figure out what may be causing this trigger, just stay open, because it might be something that doesn't look exactly like what is showing up for you in your present day, like that trigger that is showing up for you. Okay, so I think that you got it. Be gentle with yourself as you work through traumas and triggers and do your investigation to see what thing from the past may be causing your present day stress and triggers. Be gentle with yourself. Don't rush yourself through this process, okay? And I have something that I think will help you. I have a free masterclass called 5 Secrets to Elevate Your Essence. And basically this shows how trauma affects you and your body, and it goes a little bit deeper into how it gets stored and how it may be dimming your inner light, causing you to feel heavy, weighed down, and depressed. And then I give you 5 secrets to help you I give you 5 secrets to elevate your essence, right? To come alive again, to free yourself from the past and from your trauma, All you have to do is do the work. And if you need some help, I am here. I'm a spiritual life coach, and I help women to break through heavy, stuck emotions, embrace self love, and to embody your most abundant self. Okay, so you can get the masterclass at essenceturner.com/free masterclass. And there on my site, you can learn more about me and read testimonials. And there's a contact page if you want to ask me any questions about my journey or about trauma, or if you have any suggestions for videos. All right, I hope this video has deeply served you. It's been my pleasure sharing this information with you, and I will see you next time.